Senator Tammy Nichols, you're back. How are you?
I'm back. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. The session is right around the corner, which is kind of wild.
No. January 12th. That's the date. January 12th. We're back.
Oh, it's like, you know the thing, like, don't name it. It's like, you named the date. Like, now it's coming towards me. There are a lot of things going on that I wanted to chat with you about. I was just at the Associated Taxpayer of Idaho conference, and Secretary of State Phil McGrain was there, and he pulled up the slide essentially about campaign funding and outside, like, essentially election interference. And it's unbelievable when you see the breakdown of out-of-state monies that come into Idaho. Young Americans for Liberty. There was like Modern Ag Alliance. There were a bunch of different things. And we're talking millions of dollars. And you're like, what the hell are you
in
doing
Idaho?
Here? Right. And you had posted something a couple weeks ago where there was an email that went out, another one of the fake emails that went out to like all these areas saying like, why did you vote against this thing? You need to correct this right away. I think it was something like about the grocery bill.
Yeah,
and
grocery tax.
In your post, there was, articulation, which is, okay, this is overwhelmingly a lie because there wasn't even a vote on this bill.
Right.
Because to get a bill forward, I could bring a bill, right? Say I was a legislator of some sort. I could bring a bill. I have to go to the committee that the bill is relevant to and say, hey, this is a bill that I think has merit. And then I get an RSS, right? Once I get the RSS, that's essentially an identifying number where it's entered into like, okay, this is a bill that will be discussed at some level in the state of Idaho.
Right.
Once I get the RSS, then I have to have a committee hearing. So say it's on something on education. Then I take it to the education committee, either Senate or the House, and I say, okay, guys, like this is what's going on. Yeah. And that committee then says, okay, we like this or don't like it. Right. And then they vote. Yep. If it doesn't pass muster there, then it's dead.
That's it. Yep.
The larger, let's say it's in the House, the larger House never sees it. The Senate as a whole never sees it. It's dead. If it goes to the House, say I pass the committee, if it goes to the House and it dies in the House, the Senate never sees it. Say it passes the House, then it goes to the Senate committee.
Committee on the other
if
side.
If the Senate committee doesn't like it, it's dead. If the Senate committee does like it, then it goes to the Senate as a whole. Yep. But the whole point is, there were a lot of people talking about the grocery tax last year, and those bills did not make it out to like see the larger body of people. Some didn't get RSSs, some didn't make it out of committee. But the idea that all of a sudden they're like, hey, you didn't vote for this, is like, this thing didn't even make it to us. We never even had a chance to vote on it. And that's the type of manipulation that people absolutely need to open their eyes to.
Yeah. And it's happening more and more. You're absolutely right. I mean, there is quite the process to be able to get a bill passed in the legislature, and it has to go through both sides, both bodies. They are able to sometimes do a personal bill, but pretty much everybody knows that if you run a personal bill, you're primarily doing that just to get the bill idea out there. You know, it's not going to go anywhere. There was no bill that I saw. I never read one. I didn't look at one. I'd heard some inklings like maybe there was something coming, but there was nothing that I ever saw that had to do with a grocery tax repeal. And we definitely did not vote on anything that way. And so when I got that email, it was sent to me through one of those online, fill in the, your information, here's your email address, name, and all that sort of stuff, because you're upset about this grocery taxing, right? And so that was sent to me, and I got several of them the same day from different individuals, but they all came with the same type of email address from the same group. Like
organization, yeah.
Right. And so, but I'm like, wait, this isn't even correct. This isn't even right. Like, I did not vote on anything. So I didn't vote to pass or not to pass anything on the grocery tax. So it really bothered me because we're seeing that more and more coming out. And understanding what's actually transpiring when people are filling out those forms that are online is their data is getting collected. And you have groups or organizations that thrive off of collecting data information because that builds their list, that gives them more people to reach out to, more people to fundraise off of. And so I'm just like, no, people have to know that this didn't happen. Like, this really did not happen in Idaho this last year at all, and it hasn't happened for a few years. So anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that people realize that, hey, this is what's coming out. Did not happen. We didn't have a vote on this whatsoever, and it's because these organizations are bringing in all this money into the state now during election cycles, and that's how some of them are raising the money off of it and finding people, is by collecting their data through these petitions that are online.
Okay, a couple things very specifically. I am not advocating for or against the grocery tax.
Right.
I don't think you are.
No.
Right? And whatever your position is, irrelevant to me. I think the number one thing that we need in Idaho is Idahoans arguing with Idahoans. That's all we need. We do not need the help to argue from other places. But to your point about these organizations that are engaging in fundraising, is it kind of the system where they're like, okay, look, let's start with a really big, upsetting lie, like all of these people voted against the grocery tax repeal, right? Which again, didn't happen because there wasn't a vote.
Right.
Okay. Let's start off with this lie. Let's present not only a lie, but misinformation about how this actually came to pass. And then let's get these people to participate, whoever the people are, get the people to participate in, taking action, right? There's a call to action. Send Senator Nichols an email, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then that organization that started with the lie and, a misrepresentation, and then got the person then they collect all of the people that are very upset by this.
Yep.
They collect their information, they collect their emails. And then in the future, because there's no ask at that time, they're like, no, we're helping you communicate and know what's going on. And we're going to help you tell Senator Nichols that you don't like this. Yeah. They take those people's information and then in the future, they're like, hey, donate here or support this cause so we can stop this blank, 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 whatever that thing is.
Exactly. And there may have been a button on this particular petition, like click here to help us, fight this or what have you, donate $20. And that's what it is, because data is money. And people spend organizations spend millions of dollars to be able to get different types of data. And so when you can just sit there and collect it, you're getting email addresses, you're getting zip codes, you're getting people's names. You can use that email address, the physical address, whatever it is, phone number, whatever it is, you can use that over and over and over and over again. And you might be able to make, $100, $500 off of that one person's information. And sell it. You could even sell it later, down the road, because databases, you have to spend a lot of money to get some of those databases. So, yeah.
Is it also the case that you get more than just information about somebody's, like, say you send out these types of essentially like phishing, petitions out to all various population areas within the state of Idaho. They will be able to identify what the group of people and what area is most likely to be activated very easily. Because they're like, okay, when we sent this grocery, tax repeal form to Bonneville County, we didn't get a lot of play.
Yeah.
Like nobody really cared for whatever reason. We didn't get a lot of donations.
A lot of hits off of it. Yep.
But when we sent it to Canyon County, those people lit up. So if we find issues that are adjacent to the grocery tax, or people that are likely to agree with the grocery tax or disagree with it, also likely disagree with this other thing, let's just keep activating this group so they can identify kind of like in a scatter plot, like, okay, this is our hotbed of activity for here. For Bonneville County, let's run something else. Like, I don't know.
On education or something. Yeah.
Right. Like, let's just figure out what these different areas get activated by, because then we can bring sensationalistic, misrepresenting, we can bring straight out lies and target to fundraise in those areas.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you can cross data information and you can figure out, you can get really precise with what you're trying to achieve, and use data. And then you can cross-reference that data to other databases and then find out even more information. Like maybe you have some people that, you are able to obtain, like, let's say, an NRA database, right? And find out the people that are supporting the NRA or the Second Amendment.
Right.
And then you're able to cross that with what you have. And so, it just, it's like a huge web. And like I said, and it drives money, and we're seeing that. And to your point, we're seeing more and more of that out-of-state money that's coming in. And we have people in our state that are helping a lot of those out-of-state groups now to be able to achieve those things that they're trying to do and manipulate the targeting. And it's making things really interesting to watch as they play out during the election cycles, because there's more money being spent. There's more organizations that are popping into the state. And like I said, and then you have people that are here that are running other organizations in the state that are helping some of those organizations. So it's really fascinating to watch. It's concerning, because, like they're using lies, and we have some politicians in the past, some of the legislature members, that there was complete lies that were spread about them in other parts of the state. But that's what they were using and to get them, unelected. And it's bonkers. I mean, I started this process several years ago. I'm going into my 8th year. And to watch the change that has happened over the last few years is it's mind blowing to me.
Wild. There was somebody, I saw a clip from somebody in the more eastern part of the state, a cattle rancher, who I think used to be a representative. I don't know 100%, but the point is, she was like, listen, we're loading the cattle up to go, to their winter grazing area. And by the way, there are people going through the community today, right now, that are presenting lies to individual homeowners. These are people that are employed from out of state. They've traveled into the state. It's like, how it's very obvious that there are, like mobs for hire, right? Like you can have a riot for hire. And there are organizations that are coming out that are like, oh yeah, man, like we do this. Like if you got $100,000, we can have 1,000 people at this place instantaneously, right? But there are these other actors that get brought into Idaho, like you're saying. Well, not entirely like you're saying, but there are people here, either organizations that have always been here or people that are just getting funded to come into the area. And all they do is they walk around knocking, bringing up flyers that are totally BS.
Yep.
And they are human to human interactions. They're like, oh no, like we don't want Senator Nichols because like Senator Nichols is a socialist or something. Like they just say whatever. And these are people from they're not even in Idaho and they're funded from these organizations.
I will tell you, the last election cycle, there were groups that were going through doing exactly that. They were knocking on doors against myself, Senator Lenny, and then at that time, Senator Chris Treacle, and just saying like we were anti-police, that we wanted to turn Idaho into San Francisco. I mean, just all these interesting things. And one of those door knockers called me one day because they had stopped at somebody's house and they were giving them their spiel, right? Because they're given scripts and they were giving them their spiel. And the gentleman came to the door and said, "You're lying." He's like, "I know Senator Nichols, and I know that's not what she stands for, and the information that you're spreading are lies." And the guy was kind of like, "Oh, like really? Because I mean, he'd never met me or anything before because they were just hired."
Thought he was doing like
he
a
thought
good
he was,
job.
yeah. And so he actually looked me up and called me and told me this whole story. He'd come from Oregon. He had answered a Craigslist ad. He was hired here for 3 months to just come around and knock on doors. They gave him all the flyers. They gave him the script. They gave him an app that he was to utilize to be able to know which doors to knock on. And he's like, "I can't keep doing this." He's like, "I feel horrible." And so we had a conversation and I talked with him, actually met him in person. I told him I appreciated him, coming to me and letting me know what was going on. And he told me everything that had transpired and what they were being told and how they were supposed to check in and, just all these other things and how much they were being paid and everything. But it just goes to show you, yes, and that's happening more and more and more. And you have usually like college students that are brought in to different places. And sometimes that can be utilized for good, right? But if you're completely spreading lies about people, I mean, that's not good. Like if you're telling the truth, okay, that's one thing. But if you're just out and out lying, but they don't know, like they just answered a wanted ad, like help wanted, and they answered it, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna fly you out to this area. We're gonna put you up. We're gonna give you a rental car to drive around in. All you have to do is go out for 7 or 8 hours a day. We'll take care of your food, your room, your boarding, all of that." and you'll get paid X amount for each
How
door.
much were they getting paid?
They were getting paid, it was like $3 a door. And then if they were able to also drop off information, then they got an extra dollar out of that. So like $4 a door. And, I think they had to do, if I remember right, I think it was like at least 100 doors a day.
Dude, that's a cakewalk.
Yeah.
I delivered papers. I could do 65 doors in a half an hour.
Right. Well, I think they figure in the time of like you're talking to people and
How many people
stuff
do you
like
think
that.
they actually talk to? They get the door shut in their face in like 60 seconds.
Probably.
You're through 100 doors, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it
so
was
there are
just
these
so
people that
interesting.
have nothing. Obviously, they have no other gainful employment or viable alternative that they're
Right.
like, and they're being...
This was a single dad. He was actually like a younger guy, like in his 20s, single dad, and
he needed money.
And he needed money. Yeah, he needed some extra money.
And he was apparently told a story that, I didn't know until 10 seconds ago that there is a subset of people that are actually themselves sold a bill of goods, and they feel like they are doing the ethical thing by attempting to help, quote, America.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is really bad. This person's a crazy person. Like, yeah, I need the money, but this is also a really, really valuable cause. I don't know why that's surprising, but
he told me, he's like, I'm a conservative. He said, I just looked up all your information. Like, you stand exactly what the things that I stand for. He's like, but that's not what I was told whatsoever. And I was told that your opponent was the person that was actually the person that would align with me. And he's like, I'm a conservative, all of this. And so he just couldn't believe that he was just told all these lies, and he just felt so horrible, and he couldn't keep doing it. So, it was unfortunate, but I really appreciated him coming and talking to me to let me know what was going on. But that's where we're at now, is those sorts of things, those sorts of tactics are being used a lot and a lot more than what they ever have been in the past. And, with the same election, I also had a group that sent out a text message into my district saying that I had been arrested for check fraud back in like 2002 in some other county in the state, and that, I'd gone to jail and all this sort of stuff. And it was just, none of it was true. Like,
first off, it was 2001.
Yeah. I'm like, what was I doing in 2001? No, I was literally thinking about like, what was I doing in 2002? Oh, I had just had a baby, just all this sort of thing. And and they had taken a screenshot of a repository with somebody that had the same first name, but the rest of the name wasn't mine, and the year of birth was not mine. And so they just grabbed whatever they could and threw it out there as a text message and put it out in the district. So I had to have some fun with that one. So I ended up taking the picture that came with that text message, and I made t-shirts out of it. And I was, giving away t-shirts with my picture with the lineup behind me and everything, because I had to have some fun with it. But I'm like, this wasn't me, but yet they're putting out this information saying I'd been arrested for check fraud. So
did you go to the Secretary of State for that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's illegal, right? Like, if I tell somebody on the street, I'm like, hey, you're just a person. And I tell like Brian, I'm like, hey, Brian, Tammy Nichols got arrested for check fraud in 2002. It's like, okay, you're just one person. If you're a private citizen, I'm private. All right, man, I lied. Like, it's not against the law to lie to Brian about Tammy.
Yeah.
But if you're an elected official and in a campaign manner, people are out and out lying about you, that is distinctly illegal, correct?
Yeah, it should fall underneath the whole thing of, making things up about people. Sure. And, and there is, we do have sections in our code that handle for people that are defaming or whatever the case may be. But it's really hard as an elected official to actually be able to go after people in that manner. And what we found with this one is, I started researching this because I was trying to figure out who it came from. And they had a mailbox, like at one of those postal box places. That's where that's the address that they used for it. The phone number, it was disconnected. So the phone number of whoever set up the
blast,
it was disconnected. We traced things back to Portland, Oregon, somewhere in Portland, Oregon. But it's like you don't even know if these people are real or not, because they're using all this fictitious stuff to begin with, and using, physical addresses that aren't really physical addresses, phone numbers that are not working. We'd found out that, because they have to report, like these PACs have to report periodically, and they hadn't reported anything for like 5 or 6 months. So they did get fined, but it wasn't a lot. And I thought, this needs to be changed. This needs to be a little bit different. Now, I don't want to like take away people's free speech or, anything along those lines.
Yeah.
But if you're defaming or you're,
libel and
slander or then there should be consequences for that. There really should be. And you can, adamantly prove that without a doubt that, these people actually did slander you or they, said something, false allegation or what have you, then there should be consequences that come with that. But I think we're going to continue to see that more. And with AI, the way that it is now, it's going to get easier and easier for people to be able to take your image or your voice or what have you and use it for something and have you say something that you really didn't say, or in some sort of video that you really weren't in, and it's getting harder and harder. And so that's kind of where my mind goes, is like, we're going to see this more and more. It's just going to be done with AI instead.
Yeah. I actually have been thinking about this for a long time, in that, not like, my whole career, but I've been thinking about it for a couple of years, because I think ultimately what people need to get to is if they start receiving information from an organization they don't know, from a person they don't know. And we teach this to kids, right? We're like, hey man, if somebody texts you and they don't know, their name probably isn't Susan, and you're not supposed to pick them up at the airport. Like,
stranger danger.
Like, hey Jill, I'll see you at the airport. And it's like, oh, this isn't Jill. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Who are you? It's like, oh, this is Matt. Like, oh Matt, you've been so kind. I'd love to buy you lunch. And then all of a sudden they're like naked photos, and you're like, Jill, what happened?
What happened?
Right. Anyway, so we teach young people to not engage in this stuff, but it's almost like with election things, people are so susceptible. They're like, oh, here's a mailer. Yeah. This must be true. Or here's a person talking to me at my doorstep. This must be true. Here's a text message on my phone. This must be true. Yeah. And I think people need to start putting more stock in seasoned sources of information that, not all. It's like, listen, I have my own problems with the media, right? And the things they do. But I think to the degree that's possible, it's like, listen, if you're not getting it directly from the person or from a source that is not misrepresenting the person, right? Like any episode that we've ever done, I've never edited anything. And you've never accused me of editing anything, because there'd be nothing to accuse, because I don't edit anything. Yep. So people know, it's like, no, this is
You're getting
Senator Nichols. Yeah, exactly.
This is all real.
We need more of those.
We do.
We need localized ones all throughout Idaho.
Right. Well, and people really do have to do their homework, and do their research. And, I am socially out there. So I have an X account, I have an Instagram account, I have a Facebook account, I have a website, I do a Substack. I have stuff out there. There's multiple ways to get a hold of me. And, a lot of time when those things do come out, those false things, I will have people that will start contacting me immediately to let me know, like, hey, I just received this. Did you know that this is happening? They're putting this out about you or what have you. And so I really appreciate when people give me the heads. Usually I'm getting them too, but I appreciate that people are taking notice, but it makes it really difficult sometimes too, because like you have to counter, and with so many people that have moved into our state recently, there's a lot of new people that are here that may not know who you are. Right. And so you're having to counter this false stuff that's coming out. And how do you best do that? Like, okay, this group just sent out, like 4,000 text messages. I don't know who they all went to. how am I supposed to counter that? Like, how am I supposed to let people know that that's all false? That's not me. It's really, really difficult. And so you have to throw something out on your social media, text everybody back that's texting you to say, no, that's not true. I mean, I literally just put like a script together and I would just copy and paste it to everybody that, asked me, hey, this just came out, what should I tell people or what should I say? And so I just would copy and paste like, this isn't true. This is exactly, why I voted against this bill.
Right.
But it makes it really difficult because, again, a lot of these organizations are big organizations. They're not just playing in Idaho. They're playing in other states too. And, like Young Americans for Liberty, for instance, they're in multiple states. So it's not just Idaho. And
Can you explain that group? Can you explain that to me? So this is a multi-state organization.
So their home is in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're young American. They're young. Is there an actual age thing? Or is it like, no, they just say young?
Well, they started off with kind of a Ron Paul revolution type thing where a lot of young people were really interested in Ron Paul when he was running.
Like libertarian style.
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of young people that were involved in that. And so that's where it kind of got that name is Young Americans for Liberty.
So you originally have a group of younger-ish people that are like, hey, man, libertarian, like limited government. Let me get my thing, whatever. And they're in Texas.
Yeah.
What is it now?
So now they have subgroups now.
Like splinter cells.
Like Americans Liberty or Liberty PAC or something yeah. And that was one of them that sent out that email about the grocery tax credit. And they are in multiple states and they run campaigns in multiple states. And I mean like their own campaign, right? Like they have an issue or they have candidates that they're supporting or trying to get out of office. And so they play in multiple states and Idaho's one of those states. So, and I worked with them in the past, but then things started changing and there was some things that I saw that I didn't like.
Sure. Yeah,
and so, I just felt like we actually we have an Idaho Freedom Caucus here, and I'm the co-chair of it with Representative Heather Scott, and we just saw things that just didn't feel right. They didn't sit right with us, and we wrote a letter as our caucus saying that we were severing ties. So that was going to be the end of it, because some of the tactics that were being used and some of the things that were going on did not sit well with us, and we didn't like what we were seeing, and so we figured we don't want to be part of that anymore. So we're going to do our own thing, and you guys can do your own thing. So
what is their interest in Idaho?
Yeah.
Like, why are you coming here, Young Americans for Liberty? Like, what do you care about Ada County? If you're an organization in Texas and there are no even state legislators that are aligned or like part of your party, what the hell do you care about Idaho?
Yeah.
Or is it really just like they're trying to fundraise off of activity in Idaho?
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a huge chunk of it is just being able to fundraise and get money out of Idaho. Because like I said, they're in multiple states and they're getting donations from multiple people in multiple states. And, when you're running a PAC, your whole goal is to raise as much money as you possibly can for your PAC and then be able to utilize that money the way that you need to down the road. So whether that's an issue that you want to, push or promote or stop, or a candidate or whatever the case is, but you need money to be able to do that. Hiring door knockers, right? Those cost money. And that was always part of their big campaign is bringing door knockers into these different states to door knock for or against whatever it was that they were wanting to do. So
they're like
I
an
think
organization that's essentially like they're building capacity, and they're saying, hey, look, we're building a better hammer than the next guy. Mm-hmm. And so you should donate to us or fund us because we'll use our hammer and to build these things. And they show efficacy by saying something like within the state of Idaho, like we were able to effectively get, 20 elected officials unelected, or we're able to get X number of bills a reading or an RSS. We were able to get X number of bills passed. And then they have like essentially a resume, success. And they're like, okay, this is what we've done. This is showing you how big and effective our hammer is. So fund us more. So them coming into Idaho, at least in part, appears to be, or at least this is a question, is it really, at least in part, that they're like, look, we have to prove our capacity and our efficacy and let's do it in a state that's cheap. Like, we're not going to Florida where it's like $10 million to pass a bill. Let's go to Idaho and spend $500,000. And then we can put the bill on and essentially cut our teeth here, prove that we should get more money. And then people will just fire hose us money. So they're coming to our state literally just to build up their resume so they can go and peen everybody's
I think that
Cheerios.
is part of it. Yeah. And they're working with, some of the DC lobbyists, DC type organizations also. So there's organizations that have gotten together to try to do that within the state. And, Representative Julianne Young, that was one that they went and targeted, that they completely lied. I mean, she has 10 kids. She was a representative and has 10 kids. And they were trying to say that she was for like child pornography and, all this crazy stuff. And so, and it wasn't, none of it was true. And she got unelected because of it.
What are they going to do when the child pornography in schools is done with? Like, when that runs its course. Do you remember when like in 2020 or something, whenever the end of President Trump's first term, everybody was like, what's the media gonna do
with him gone?
With him gone.
Right.
And then it's like, COVID ran its course. It's like, what are they going to do? And they're like, they're still holding strong. So it's like, and now, like, the thank God for them anyway, that, President Trump came back and they're like, finally, we have something to
talk about again.
Because it's like, what are you going to do when you can't accuse people of, like, is it going to be like they love Sharia
you can't
law?
Keep that pot stirring.
Yeah, like they're going to need their next crisis and fundraising kind of thing. They're like, well, it's not the child pornography anymore. Like, what's it going to be?
What do we have to take the place? Right. I know. Well, and and that's the thing is, we know in some other areas and in the past, and I know it was one of the questions on their questionnaire that they'd send us to, because we get lots of questionnaires from different organizations to fill out. It was, where do you stand on pot and marijuana? Where are you at on that? So I don't know. I mean, we're seeing that push happening in the state again. So there's a group that's trying to use the ballot initiative to be able to get marijuana brought into the state.
I didn't know that. Who's the group?
Oh, I'm trying to remember what they're called. I'd have to look back at it, but yeah.
I interviewed an individual last in this 2025 session that was, I think he was a vet, and he was, like, for medical marijuana. And of course, interviewed, several chiefs of police that are very much against it and feel it's very, very, like, it's a bad thing. So it's like, great, like, let's hear every side. I didn't know that there was a ballot initiative.
Yeah, there's a push going to collect signatures to try to, I don't know where they're at on it right now. I've just heard multiple times that there is a push to try to bring that back into play.
Let me ask you something. Not about collecting signatures for this ballot, but if the people of Idaho, like, let's say that the ballot thing was successful, and 60% of the people in Idaho, I'm making these numbers up, let's say 60% were like, yeah, you know what? We should have recreational marijuana. Do you think, and again, let's say you voted no, just to be safe, like in my ridiculous hypothetical thing, maybe you vote yes. I don't know. I don't care. But the point is, like, what part does that play for you? Like, the ballot initiative, it's like, if this is the will of the people, is that something that should be, let's just use this example. Is that something that should be, and I would assume it wouldn't pass if people were asked, but is that something that should be, like, honored by the state legislature?
Yeah, that's always an interesting discussion, because of course, I'm going to look at what was
whatever
passed.
It is. Sure.
Whatever it is. But I just go back to my fundamentals. So is it constitutional? Is it necessary? How much is it going to cost? What's the impact on the state and the people in Idaho? Because you could have a majority of people that want to see, pick whatever you want, abortion up to birth. Let's just say that. Like, maybe that's the majority that want to do that. Is that really what's best for the people in the state of Idaho? I mean, just because the majority might think that it is, doesn't mean that it is. Or if we legalize drugs, like Oregon legalized everything for a while, and then they started finding out that wasn't what was best for the people in the state of Idaho or state of Oregon. So they started honing that back and nope, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do so. You have to really weigh it and see, because sometimes people might think it is that's what they want and that it's good. But down the road, it may be looked at as, no, that really wasn't a very good thing. I mean, we're seeing what's happening with Medicaid expansion right now. And that's going to be, I think, a issue that's going to come up this next legislative session.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because we're spending so much money, and then we're finding all this abuse that's been happening in it too. And it's not just at the state level, but at the federal level too. So, but Medicaid expansion was passed, and the legislature at that time looked for ways to try to put some bookends, like work requirements, things along those lines. And, a lot of the stuff that we were trying to get in didn't happen. And we've spent so much money on it, and it's going to bankrupt the state, I'm afraid, if we continue going down this path without making changes.
It's that's $100 million. Last year that was like $100 million price tag, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not going to bankrupt the state. We have all kinds of other things that are way worse. I was just at the taxpayer thing, and it's there's we're like $500 or $600 million in the hole. What $100 million? And you get $900 million. Don't you get like the $900 million matching from the federal government? So it's like we get $1 billion for $100 million or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look and see what their newest figures are, where we stand with the federal government on that one. But I know that it's costing more and more and more. But, you have to see. And remember that Idaho didn't always have a ballot initiative process. So that's part of it too. And, where, it's fine for the people to petition the government. And I mean, that's a constitutional right, all of that sort of stuff. But sometimes you just have to weigh things carefully and figure out, is this really what's best for the people of Idaho? Is this really going to help our state, or is it going to cause problems down the road? We always talk about unintended consequences that can come to pass with different legislation. And sometimes we see that happen in different ways, whether it's legislation we pass or through a ballot initiative process. It can happen either way. So I just always go back to my basics, though, of constitutional, how much does it cost? Is it needed? And what's the impact going to be?
Man, this is such a weird thing, because I've been thinking about the ballot initiative. Like, first off, there was a ballot initiative. It was like the 80s or the 90s where they passed a ballot initiative to install term limits, and the next legislative session, the legislature overturned it. And it was like, but the people in no uncertain terms are telling you that this is the government for the people, by the people. And they're saying, we want our government to operate this way. And then the government's like, nope. We're not going to do that, because we are the government, and we are not going to participate with what you want the government to be. I heard that. I was like, that's damn wild. Now, I understand there's like institutional knowledge that's really important and things like that. But, and again, I don't know, like nobody asked me. That was like the 90s or something. Like, I don't know the nuances of term limits. I just know that it's such a weird thing to me that it's like, okay, but if our entire government is a government like of the people, by the people, for the people, and if the people are like, hey, we want this, then it's like, well, then how do we square that? Where it's like, how come the government gets to say no? Yeah,
it gets into an interesting point on that, because the legislature is a citizen-led legislature. So we have people that elect citizens to represent them for the state in the legislature. And so I ask the question sometimes, well, if we have a ballot initiative process and we can just utilize that, then why do you need a legislature?
Well, because, I mean, that's really clear. Like there were like 700 bills last year, right? Like, so you wouldn't be able to have people voting on 700 different bills. So in a lot of cases with very complex and very numerous, considerations, I mean, like, I didn't even know the Associated Taxpayers of Idaho existed till like a month ago. And then I found out there was a conference and somebody invited me. I was like, sure, man, I'll go. Just sitting there. It's like you black out for a second. You're like, oh my gosh. And considering that they're like, hey, man, if you do X, it's going to affect a state like this. If you do Y, it'll affect a state like this. And just weighing those considerations, you're like, this is too much. So I can see very much a need for, citizen politicians that are like, okay, look, I will commit my life, a portion of my life, to ingesting as much information, understanding these, and represent you as effectively as possible, because the average Joe Schmo can't do that. But when it comes down to a single solitary item, like, hey, should we have term limits? That doesn't take that much for somebody to be like, or like, should we have recreational marijuana or medicinal marijuana, or should we have, should elective abortions be allowed up to, with whatever stipulations there are? Those are not things that require somebody to ingest 700 different bills. Those are things that are like, okay, this is one thing that potentially, like,
It's
for
an
instance,
issue.
isn't there like a grocery tax ballot initiative?
There's signatures being gathered for that right now. Yep.
Right.
And there's one on abortion too.
Great. Yes, I actually had somebody who is collecting signatures because I was like, I want to understand what it is you're asking people to do, right? Or you're collecting signatures. Let's be clear about what the signatures are, because there was a big discrepancy within the Prop 1 ballot initiative. People were like, I didn't understand what this was.
Really
I signed it. Exactly. So it was like, okay, tell me exactly what you're asking people to sign their name to get it on the ballot. And then, of course, the state of Idaho can vote however they want. It's none of my affair.
Right.
But with like the grocery tax one, I've heard great arguments for the grocery tax, right? And I've heard all sides. So it's kind of like, how could we weigh the grocery tax ramifications and nuances within the grocery industry and pricing and be like, okay, we'll listen to the people on this one, but we won't listen to them on this one. Like, it's too weird to me.
There's just a lot that always has to be weighed, but just keep in mind, like California, for instance, they have a ballot initiative process and they have more and more ballot initiatives that come onto the ballots. I think 1 year,
but if we say California and associate with anything, we already know it's bad. Like bad. If you say California does X, guaranteed everybody in Idaho doesn't want to do X. So like that's kind of a, like, different states have different processes for ballot.
And not all states have ballot initiative processes. So, and like I said, Idaho didn't have one for a long time either. So it's an interesting thing. And, and I can understand that, people want to utilize that, be able to express things, but I think it can also be utilized for, I don't want to necessarily say like wrong purposes, but purposes that may not be good for the state.
Like
like the marijuana thing, right? Like recreational marijuana. Do we really want that in our state? I mean, people in my district will tell you, no, we do not want recreational marijuana.
Here's a question for you. And I am not. What I'm saying is, why would we listen then? Because you're saying people don't want that. Okay. It's like, well, are we going to ask the people? And what if the majority of people say, no, we do. Right? Like, how do we square, like, me as a citizen?
Yeah.
What's my place in this state with having a say over the type of governance in the state, and what happens if, like, the argument, of course, for the ballot initiative, I believe, with the grocery tax is that we can't get the grocery tax to, like, the committee or to the floor or something like that. Like, we can't get people. Right. That's the whole nature of, like, how I got a hold of you, because I was like, hey, they're accusing you of not voting. You didn't even have a vote, right? And again, for or against is irrelevant to me, but it's one of those things where it's like, wait, well, how do we
balance that?
And do I get a say? Because people are saying, hey, they are not representing our best interest.
Yeah. Well, I think two things. I think it's a good reminder for the legislature to know that it does exist and that it can be utilized, and to try to remain proactive on things. Now, we did pass this last session where it is going to be on the ballot that says that the legislature gets to make the determination on drug schedule, right? Like, we're able to, like, we're putting that power, that ability into the legislative control to be able to make those decisions. And that is going before the people on the ballot to vote on. So they are going to be able to make the decision. We have another one where English is the primary language in the state of Idaho. That's going to be on the ballot for people to vote on and say, do we want English to be the primary language for the state of Idaho?
Wait, that's a ballot initiative coming up?
The legislature passed it to go to the people. So,
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
So you guys can say, like, hey, we want to make the iPhone the official phone
of the state of Idaho.
Of the state of Idaho.
Yep.
And you're like, but you know what? How about we don't do it? How about we just say we would like you to tell us what you want?
We want to give it to the people.
Oh, so you guys can. We the people show up. Okay, but why listen to us then?
Yeah.
Why have this process of asking us if, like, we're going to selectively listen to you? It's like. What do you want for dinner, son? And he's like, I want burgers. It's like, great, man. I'll get you whatever you want for dinner. And then the next day I'm like, what do you want for dinner, son? He's like, tacos. I'm like, what do you know? You're an idiot. It's like, why ask at all?
One day you knew and the next day.
Yeah. Like, why is it that I have a place to make a commentary?
And I think it goes back to...
And then I don't.
Well, and I think it goes back to the whole premise is that we have elected representatives for a reason, right? Like, we are elected to be in there to make determinations and decisions for our districts. That's our job, right?
Sure.
And so you're putting that, whoever wins for that district, you're putting your trust. And, like, people will say to me, well, you're not representing the majority of your district. Well, evidently I must be because I keep getting elected.
Right.
So, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be representing everybody all the time at 100%, because some person might like vanilla ice cream and somebody else might like chocolate. Well, which one am I going to go with? Right? Like, okay. But
And that's a nonsense. Like, listen, I am representing my entire district. My
Exactly.
position or vote may not reflect
Exactly.
what every single person wanted, but show me the person that can vote in a manner that reflects every single person at every time.
can't.
So I am representing you. You just
you may not agree with me
you
on
may not agree with
everything.
and by the way,
Yep.
there's no other way around that.
Exactly.
You're just mad because I landed on this side on one issue and you were on the
you're
other
never
side.
going to be able to, unfortunately. Like, I would love to be able to say, yeah, every vote that I cast, everybody agrees with me on, but that's not logical, and that's not reality, right? So you're going to always have, I mean, and I make a vote on a particular subject, and I will have people that send me emails like, I love that vote. That was my favorite.
Amazing.
Yes, you are the
Beautiful.
best. And I'll have other people say, you need to die. You know, you need to leave the state. You need to resign now. You know, I
my
hated that
gosh.
vote. So you're going to have that happen with every issue. You're never going to be able to please everybody all the time. All you can do is do what you feel is in the best interest. Not only, you know, I represent a district, but everything that we do at the Capitol impacts the whole state of Idaho. It's not just the people in my district.
Well, that's not true.
well-
with the no camping in public, that was in cities over 100,000 people. There are only like 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah. There's some
You got
stipulations.
Meridian,
Yeah.
Boise, Nampa, Pocatello's over 100,000, isn't it? It used to be, at least.
They could be around that. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
Idaho Falls. Maybe.
Yeah. Caldwell's only 25,000 away, maybe 20 now. I don't know. They're growing by the day.
There are some things that have particular numbers, yes, for sure. But it's going to be that way regardless if it's done through the regular legislative process or the ballot initiative process. And all you can do is weigh things the best that you can and try to do what you feel is the most appropriate at that time, that has a positive impact and represents as many people as you can. So because you're not going to get everybody. And I saw a sign once that said, you know, if you want to please everybody, sell ice cream. And I think
I'm lactose intolerant, bro.
even then you're not going to be able to please everybody.
I want soy-based ice cream, and then you have somebody who's like, forget soy, I want cashew. I'm like, I got a nut allergy.
Exactly.
It's a train wreck, man.
So it is always a balancing act, and all you can do is try to do your best with it. And you know, even in the legislative body, you know, we disagree with each other. There's issues that come up, and we debate those amongst ourselves and have, you know, discussions amongst ourselves on particular issues. There's others that you see a lot of agreement that comes into play with it. But it's always a balancing act, no matter how you do it. The thing that I try to remind people, though, is that, you know, we are not legislated by mob rule. So, you know, I put you up there and I say, look, we have this gentleman up here and we're going to cut his hair and dye it purple. And everybody that is in agreement of that, raise your hand. And if the majority, well, then that's what we're going to do. Is that in your best interest? Is that going to help you out? Do you want your hair cut short
Wait,
and
are
dyed
you pointing
purple?
at me? Just don't point at me. It's like I'm terrible. Like,
But we're not a mob
Yeah,
rule.
right.
We're not mob rule here.
my
And
gosh.
so even if the
there would probably be an
majority-
improvement in looks. I mean, it's like- I was in DC recently, and I found
too.
out. Yeah, I heard that. So I found out that there was like a dress code, because they're like, we're going to take you. Somebody was like, I'm going to take you to like the Senate place for lunch. I was like, oh, cool, the Senate place. They're like, you're going to need a jacket and a tie.
Did you go to
Like,
Capitol Hill Club? Is that where you went?
all I know is I saw Ted Cruz. I was like, that's Ted Cruz. And they were like, only chief of staff and the actual senators get in here. And like, you have to be with them. And I was like, this is kind of wild. Anyway, so I couldn't wear my hat. So I had to
Yeah.
like do my hair.
You had to do your-
And literally people I know and have known for years were staring at me as I was walking across the room, staring at me like a blank look.
Like, who are
and
you?
then you could see when they realized it was me, they're like, I didn't even know you had hair.
That's when you know that you wear hats a lot, huh?
Oh my God.
But that's the thing, is that we are not dictated by mob rule, and there's a reason for that, because mob rule is not always the right way to go.
I appreciate that. You were the chairwoman of the Senate Ag Committee last year, right?
I still am. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you keep it through a 2-year term? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Okay. Are you aware what was going on with amalgamated sugar and Canadian molasses?
I heard a little bit about it, but not like in depth.
Okay.
So there's
this
a whole
is
thing
the
going
level of international, tomfoolery that I heard this when I was in DC, and I was like, oh my God. So I actually just went and did an episode with Sugar Beet Sam in a sugar beet field in an irrigation ditch. Like we set up the cameras and we're sitting there. I was eating a sugar beet. It was really, really good.
Good.
They're so great.
Yeah.
Thank you. They're like jicama,
and
but
I was
sweet.
like, I was like, let me have some of that. And I'm like, they're really good.
Yeah. So I just grabbed one out of the ground. I was like, it's really good. Anyway, so it turns out when people get mad at, there's obviously much to be said about the tariffs that rolled out with this administration. Okay. But when I started learning things that other countries were doing, I was like, dude, go get them. So this is apparently Canada doesn't want to pay or doesn't want to deal with whatever tariff or cost it is associated with
Canada's
bringing
not
sugar
happy about it.
over into the United States.
Yep.
So what they were doing is they were overly enriching their molasses, which doesn't get the same tariffs with sugar, transporting the molasses across the border and then refining out the sugar on this side and then distributing it domestically. And people found out, they're like, you're trafficking sugar. It was literally that movie Traffic where they're like, the doll is the cocaine. Right. It's like the molasses is the sugar.
Wow.
And then they do this whole process and they get the crystal out.
That's
and then like,
brilliant.
Dude, and like Amalgamated Sugar lost their minds. They're like, they're sneaking it across the border.
Because that's impacting.
Dude, how wild is that?
Wow.
It's like, this is the depth that people will go to. These are the lengths that they'll go to mess around with international markets. And it was just one of those reminders that it's like, listen, you want a bulldog at the helm at times when you're dealing with international trade, because not everybody is going to function in their best interest. You're going to have bad players. And some people will recognize that the best outcome for everybody likely is working, predominantly in good faith. But you're going to have people that don't care at all.
Exactly.
They're like, just put a little bit more sugar in the molasses and let's get it across the damn border. And then
we'll fix it on the other side.
Jim in, wherever, who's going to like suck the sugar out. And then you're just peddling it like crazy, like selling illegal cigarettes and stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, these are what do you have coming up for the Senate Ag Committee? Are you going to run the chicken bill again?
I am going to bring back the chicken bill again. Yes, I think I should. That's been one of my most popular bills, even though it didn't pass. People are like, they either thought it did because it did come out of the Senate side and it got killed over on the House side. So they're really disappointed when I told them it didn't go through all the way. Or they're just like, you got to bring that bill back. That was a great bill.
Do we have like a lot of chicken producers in the state of Idaho? Or is this predominantly like a citizen bill to like reduce power of like localized HOAs?
Yeah. Well, it did come about from, egg prices that went crazy for a while, right? And so that was part of it. The other thing is that, a lot of our ag is being developed. And I think and I've talked to a lot of people about this, there needs to remain a strong connection with our youth that are coming up, our next generation, and our ag, because otherwise we're going to lose all of it. And how are you going to teach kids about agriculture if it's hard to be able to live in a subdivision, and I've lived in subdivisions, but it's not the same as living out in the country. And so chickens are one of the easiest things to be able to raise. They're just as easy as a dog or a cat, really. I have 10 of them right now, and they're very, very easy to take care of, very, very easy to raise.
Do you grow your own food? Like, do you do those worms, like the worm buckets?
Oh, I did. It's been a while, but we used to garden a lot.
That's a huge cost associated with chickens, right? Like any livestock, it's like 50% of the cost is going to be feed. So if you can drive down the cost of the feed, then you actually get the ROI.
Right.
Okay.
No, I do a lot of different things with my chickens. Now that it's wintertime, I make them up oatmeal and different things like that and take it out to them because they really like it. So
make them oatmeal?
And I clean out my fridge and I give them tons. I rarely throw any food away because I take it to my chickens. I even recycle their egg shells because you can feed the egg shells back to the chickens. Yeah. Usually you have to get oyster shell because it's good for their eggs. It helps with the outer layer of the egg, make it strong, right? But you can actually recycle their own egg shells and give it to them instead of the oyster shell. So
that's wild.
Yeah. So they're one of the few animals that you can actually utilize what they produce and recycle it back to them.
Yeah, because you don't want like mad cow disease where the cows were eating cow.
Right.
That's bad.
Right. No, but you
And
can
this
use
is different.
Yeah, way different.
You don't
You
have
can use
mad
the
chicken
oyster
disease.
shell, you can use the egg, you can feed it all back to them and they'll reproduce and produce more eggs. But yeah, I just think it's really, important to keep that connection with the upcoming generations that we have, so that they understand agriculture, so that they understand that food doesn't come from the grocery store, that it's actually produced and there's actually a whole process that is involved for you to get the food from there to the grocery store. I'm a huge advocate with, being able to just go straight to the source. So like for your eggs or for your vegetables, that's why I love farmers markets and everything, is because you actually have the people that are actually producing that food and you can buy directly from them. And I think that's one of the things that we will see this upcoming session is there's a huge demand on meat products to be able to actually distribute and sell meat directly instead of having to go through a USDA type thing where it has to be USDA stamped. Like you can, because you get the packets that say not for resale, and why are we doing that? As long as people are following a process and they're following all the other guidelines, why does it matter if it has that stamp on it or not? So
there's an argument for like the cottage industry, right? Which is essentially like if you're there, I know some other states do it as in, like if you're selling within your own county, like it's a localizing. So like you can't go interstate, you can't go even your entire state. But like if you're within 20-mile radius of your house, then you can engage in this thing, and you got to put like a label on it or something.
Right. Yeah, and you can sell at farmers markets and things like that.
Yeah.
We have cottage laws. Yeah, but no, I think we'll look into some of those things on the food, because there's just more and more demand of people. People are concerned with what's going into their food and where is it going to. Like are we shipping out of the country to have it, taken care of and like chicken or what have you, and separated, and then it's brought back in and it still says that it, is done in the USA. But people really want to know where their food's coming from and what is in their food, because we have all sorts of other products that are out there now with, fake meats and all this sort of stuff. And people want to know what's in their food. That's what they want.
Okay. When you're talking about this, I remember that you had your geoengineering bill and everything, and I saw just the other day that Representative Hotstetler from the Magic Valley sent up this thing like, we need to stop this from going on. But like, to be clear, like I sent him a note. I'm like, Senator Nichols looked into this. Like, she didn't find anything within the state of Idaho to indicate that there's anything going on. Are you going to bring that bill back, or are you going to?
Yeah. So there's a few legislators that are working on some different components of it, which is fine with me.
Yeah.
I am still bringing back the cloud seeding transparency bill.
Oh, gotcha.
So we are working on that one to, bring it back so that people understand, like, let's have some transparency in this. Taxpayer dollars are paying for a bit of this. Let's make sure that everybody's feeling comfortable about it. I'm good with that.
What did you think about that tour we took?
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Super interesting.
Yeah, to see how it all worked.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, the cloud seeding is bad or whatever. I mean, I want to make sure though what we're actually dealing with. And so that's why I love transparency. I love transparency regardless. So I think
so that one you're going to have the transparency bill.
We'll have the transparency bill. Agriculture also will have, I know there's some changes that we're looking at making on hemp for people to be able to make that a little bit easier for our farmers. Hemp's an amazing product. It really, really is. And I remember when we passed the hemp bill, there was so much discussion on educating people with the differences between hemp and marijuana and that they're not the same thing.
Right.
It was really, really hard to get that education across for some people. But, we had a presentation in ag this last session on hemp. And so they brought in different people in the industry to talk about, their experience and what kind of regulations and the problems that they're still seeing, and is it a good what the state's doing, or do we need to make some changes? And there's obviously some changes that need to be made. But
do you know any hemp farmers?
Yeah, well, they brought him in. Yeah,
dude,
so
I would love to talk to the hemp farmers.
Okay,
hook it up with somebody.
I'll hook you up.
I tried to get a hold of somebody.
We have a hemp textile place too, and I mean,
it's scratchy like wool though.
Well, but hemp is used in so many different things, right? Yeah. And we import a ton of hemp products. The problem that we have, and it's basically like telling a farmer that raises cattle for meat, right? Like, okay, you can raise the cattle, but don't you dare sell any stakes in the state. And that's kind of what we're doing with the hemp farmers. Like, you can raise the hemp and there's all these things, but don't sell any hemp products.
Yeah, while we're importing steaks. It's like, you can raise the cattle, you can't sell the steaks. We're just going to buy the steaks from Florida, but you can raise the cattle for Florida to make money with.
Yeah. And that shouldn't be how it is. And hemp's a great rotation crop. So, if you're needing a rotation crop, it needs little water. Our soil and our climate's really good with it. You can use it, for rope. You can use it.
Anything.
I mean, my dog's leash is made out of hemp. So, and the collar and everything, it's all hemp.
My God, can you say that publicly? Aren't you going to get in trouble?
It's not illegal.
Oh my gosh.
So we are looking at making some changes to that. One that I was just approached on is on kratom, because there's a bunch of talk on kratom that's coming back.
That's great.
So kratom is a plant. It's a cousin to the coffee plant, and it's utilized in the form of a tea or capsules or what have you. But it can, depending on how you take it, they use it a lot to help people get off opioids or different addictions. And you can also use it for helping you sleep, or if you're needing more energy or what have you. But there's some bad players or some things that are going on.
It can be used to help you sleep or get energy.
Depending on I know.
Yeah, these are totally, this sounds too good to be true. I love every second of it.
It can go, it can go both ways. So depending. And so there's some talk, because there's some problems that are going on with some of the synthetic portion of product that's being added to the pure kratom. And so the industry wants to basically self-regulate so that they can kind of stay ahead of anything that might be coming down the channel at the federal level. So I've been in discussions on that one. So we might be seeing that one coming through. I'm sure we'll have some stuff on water. I'm working on, like, one of my big things, and I was in DC for a task force that I'm currently on, co-chair it, is on the child custody and domestic relations. Yeah. That's opened up a huge can of worms, and there's a lot that has come out from that.
Could we do this? Because the screensaver came on, which means we've been going for over an hour.
Okay.
I did not anticipate covering all this very stuff. I do want to talk about the child, and especially, so just to be clear, I thought initially when you were doing these things, it was about like CPS, but you told me right before we started, you're like, no, this is like, you have two people that get divorced, and there are essentially really bad decisions that get made as far as custody and things of that nature. Yeah. I absolutely want to talk about this, but why don't we do this?
Oh yeah.
Let's call it so we don't kill everybody with the time here. And we'll come back and do another episode on that, because again, I have a lot of friends, very unfortunately, who are going through divorces, and they all have kids, and that's terrible. Like, it's terrible all around, but the idea that you could have family members or parents that are unjustly prevented from engaging with their kids, and that's just all bad.
Yeah.
Right? So
there's some bad things going on.
Yeah. I'd love to have you come back and chat about that if you're game. Okay.
Yeah. No, we have, this next session, there'll be something for everyone. It'll be a fast session though, because it is going to be an election session or election season again.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Everybody is,
session?
So people are going to want to get in and out as fast as they possibly can.
Oh, so it's going to be like end of March?
Maybe we'll see. I always just say we go till April. It's just, it's been my experience that that's how it is, but people will be wanting to get out and get back to their districts so that they can campaign. So we'll see what happens.
This is going to be, last session was wild. But like this session with the primary is going to be wild.
It will be wild.
It'll be wild.
And we'll see what kind of groups are coming in and who's playing in Idaho politics this next, election cycle.
Dude,
so
I want to work in some way with the Secretary of State's office to do like a weekly expose on like mailers.
That would be
text
awesome.
messages and stuff, and just the outside groups. It's like, this is blank, blank, blank. And if you see this, it means they're from like North Carolina. They don't care about you at all. Blah, 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 blah. Because like, I'm not advocating for one person or another, but I am advocating for Idaho in Idaho. Like, let's just get everyone else out of it. Or at the very least, my dream would just be to make it more expensive to do this in Idaho. Yeah. Because then they will sell. They're like, dude, it's like,
not worth it.
It's not worth it. Let's go to like Montana. Like, boom, off they go.
And you've seen that happen in other states, right? Like, it's just getting more and more expensive to run campaigns. Like
Right.
every year, it's just every time it just costs more and more money.
Right.
And I mean, I can tell you my first campaign cost me about $12,000, and this last one I spent closer to like $40,000. So
my
I mean, so
gosh.
it just continues to go up, and unfortunately that is the way it is. And and it also creates a problem where a lot of people just can't do that, right? They can't run for office because they can't afford to do it.
Yeah.
They just can't afford to do it. And not just us that will be up for election, but it will be our constitutional officers too. Everybody's going to be up for election for that too, because it's been 4 years. So it's going to be kind of crazy, kind of fast and furious, but it'll be interesting. There'll be something for everybody. And
Something for everybody.
there'll be something for everybody. And I really want people to be involved. I love for people to come down to the Capitol during session and see what we do, see how it works, come and sit in on some of the meetings, come and see how the process, happens. It's important. It's important for people to be involved, but to remind people when the election season does start to really do your research, do your homework, look into things, look into candidates, don't just get something and take it for its face value. Scrutinize it and see if you can, figure out if it's really telling the truth or if it's not. And most legislators are very approachable, really reachable, and you can contact us and ask us directly, like, hey, did you do this and why? Or because a lot of time we'll have an explanation on why we voted a certain way or why we did something a certain way. Yeah. So we're pretty good about that.
God bless it. Well, listen, thank you for taking my email call. I don't know how I got a hold of
It's
you.
always fun to get there's multiple ways to get a hold of me. So
Thanks for coming in and explaining these things. I am excited to talk to you more about the other bills you're bringing forward because I really do care about those issues. So we'll just have to do it again.
We'll just do it again.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.